Hello students, today we are talking about module 4 of data communication. Uh, uh, in module 4, we had already discussed about part 1 that is related to data link layer. So data link layer which has been divided into two functionality oriented sublayers. We had discussed the upper sublayer that is data link control responsible for flow and error control in the previous class. In today's class, we are going to discuss the lower sublayer responsible for multiple access resolution called MAC layer, that is Media Access Control Layer. The contents goes as like this, where we are discussing three important parts of this particular module: random access, controlled access, and channelization. And the taxonomy goes like this. In random access, we have three important protocols: Aloha, carrier sense multiple access, that is CSMA, carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, that is CSMA bar DC, carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance, that is CSMA bar CA. In controlled access, we have three important protocols again: reservation, polling, token passing. And in channelization, we have once again three more protocols: frequency division multiple access, FDMA, time division multiple access, TDMA, and code division multiple access, CDMA. Let's move on further to the next slide. We start with the random access first. Random access, also called contention methods, where no station is superior to another station and none is assigned the control over another. However, if more than one station tries to send, there is an access conflict called collision of frames, where each frame will be either destroyed or modified. Then some questions arises, such as when the station shall access the channel or medium, what it should do if the channel is busy, how it should make out success or failure of transmission. Also, if there is an access conflict, then how to deal with it. So we have certain protocols regarding this in random access. We start with the first one. You can see the taxonomy of these protocols as I explained now. Coming to this random access, as we have these four important protocols, let's start with Aloha protocol. Okay, so Aloha, which has a very simple procedure called multiple access, where we have once again this method was improved with the addition of a procedure that forces the station to sense the medium before transmitting, called carrier sense multiple access. Then we have one more evaluation of this method into two parallel methods called CSMA bar CD and CSMA bar CA, where CSMA bar CD tells the station what to do when a collision detected, and CSMA bar CA tries to avoid the collision. Moving on to Aloha, here as we can see, Aloha, which is the earliest random access method, which was developed at the University of Hawaii in early 1970s. It was designed for a radio LAN, that is wireless LAN, but it can be used on shared medium. So what we did is, like, we can go with the pure Aloha, where we can also expect the acknowledgement back from the receiver end. So in pure Aloha, what happens? The original Aloha protocol is called pure Aloha, which is the simplest but elegant protocol. The idea behind this is, in each station sends a frame whenever it has a frame to send. However, since there is only one channel to share, there is the possibility of collision between frames from different stations. You can see in the diagrammatic representation, as I have shown, four stations we have in the example, and each station has two frames to send. So we can just go with this, like, if there are four stations and each station is independent of sharing its content whenever it wants, then what happens? If there are total number of 8 frames on the shared medium, some of these frames collide because multiple frames are in contention for the shared channel, as shown in the figure in the pure Aloha diagram. It is obvious that we need to resend the frames that have been destroyed during transmission. The pure Aloha protocols relies on acknowledgement from the receiver. So as the acknowledgement received by the sender, then once again the next frame will be given. Our next frame will be transmitted. A collision involves two or more stations. If all these stations try to resend their frames after the timeout, the frames will be collide again. So pure Aloha dictates that when a timeout period passes, each station waits a random amount of time before sending the frame. Let's see the actual procedure, where we start with the start. That is, this is the algorithm of pure Aloha, where we have k is equal to 0. If a station has a frame to send, so k is nothing but the number of attempts, how many times it can send. If in between it has got corrupted or like got lost somewhere or something like that, then first when we initialize the operation, then it will be k is equal to 0. We send a frame, we wait for some timeout time so that we can get back the acknowledgement for the sent frame. So how much time we can wait? We can wait for the 2 into tp time. Tp is the maximum propagation time, so twice the propagation time we wait for getting the acknowledgement from the receiver end. So if we get the acknowledgement, that is, you can see in the diagram, if we receive the acknowledgement, then it means that the transmission is successful. Otherwise, if there is no if there is no success in the acknowledgement, that is, we didn't get the acknowledgement back, then we are supposed to increment the attempts, number of attempts. So we have given k is equal to k plus 1. So where how long the k is equal to k plus 1 or k plus 2, k plus 3, how long it may go? It may go till k is greater than k max. What could be the max value? The max value could be 15. So even after 15 attempts or 15 tries also, if we are not getting the acknowledgement, then it will abort the process for a while, and it will wait for some more time to get the network back, and once again will resend it. So k is greater than k max. If it is yes, that is, it is not getting it even after reaching 15 attempts, then we abort the process. If there is nothing like that, that is somewhere we got it for twice attempts or 3 attempts or 4 attempts, something like, then we choose a random number r between 0 and 2 to the power of k minus 1. So we choose the r number between that. Suppose if the attempts are 5, so 2 to the power of 5 minus 1. Our attempts are 4 to the power of 4 minus 1, that is 16 minus 1, 15. So 0 to 15, any random number we are choosing. Why we are choosing that? To calculate the backup time, that is TB time, that is nothing but the back off time. So how we can calculate this wait of back off time? TB is equal to R into TP. TP is the propagation time. R, R, R into TFR. TFR is the average transmission time for a frame. So that's how we can start the procedure. So then we have acknowledgement frames. That is how we get the acknowledgement. All that explanation I have given in this frame. And then the vulnerable time, that is, if suppose the like every time it is getting collided, then what could be the vulnerable time of that? And how can you calculate the throughput for pure Aloha? It could be given as S is equal to G into e to the power of minus 2G, where S is the average number of successful transmissions called throughput, and G is the average number of frames generated by the system during one frame transmission time. You can see now this has been a bit improved using the slotted Aloha. What is the slotted Aloha? In slotted Aloha, what we do is, along with the acknowledgement, we also make a number of slots of that particular time period of transmission, so that during the start, every station has been told only in the starting of that slot only it is allowed to share its particular content. So pure Aloha has a vulnerable time of 2 into 2 power of FR, which is so because there is no that defines when the station can send. A station may send soon after another station has started or soon before another station has finished. So slotted Aloha was invented to improve the efficiency of pure Aloha importantly. In slotted Aloha, we divide the time into slots of TFR, that is nothing but the time which is used to transfer that particular frames, and force the station to send only in the beginning of the time slot. As we can see in the diagram, each station has occupied that particular slot. So slot 1 has been occupied by frame 1.1 from the station 1. Slot 2 has been occupied from station 2 and station 3 in the form of frame 2.1, frame 3.1, and so on. So what happens is, since we have only allowed them in the starting of the slot, so we can, to some extent, we can reduce the collision. So figure shows the vulnerable time for slotted Aloha is half of that of the pure Aloha. Therefore, slotted Aloha vulnerable time could be given as TFR. So throughput, how we can define? S is equal to G into e to the power of minus G. Then we have the next method, that is carrier sense multiple access. In carrier sense multiple access, the chance of collision can be reduced if a station senses the medium before trying to use it. That is, CSMA requires that each station first listen to the medium before sending. In other words, CSMA is based on the principle sense before transmit or listen before talk. CSMA can reduce the possibility of collision, but it cannot totally eliminate it. As we can see in the diagram, see here, like a space and time model of a CSMA network where stations are connected to a shared channel, the possibility of collision still exists because the propagation delay when a station sends a frame, it will takes time for the first bit to reach every station and for every station to sense it. In other words, a station may sense the medium and find it idle only because the first bit sent by another station has not yet been received. At time t1, as you can see in the diagram, at time t1, station B senses the medium and finds it idle. So it sends a frame. At time t2, which is greater than time t1, station C senses the medium and finds it idle because at this time the first bits from the station B have not yet reached the station C. Station C also sends the frame. The two signals collide and both frames got destroyed. So how can we define the vulnerable time for this? The vulnerable time for CSMA can be defined as the propagation time TP. This is the time needed for a signal to propagate from one end of the medium to the other end. When a station sends a frame and any other station tries to send a frame during this time, a collision will result. So what we can do, we can just deal with this using these persistence methods. What are these persistence methods? We can have three kinds of persistence methods. In that, what should a station do if the channel is busy? So the answer for this is, uh, if suppose like these three methods have been devised to answer the questions like what should the channel should do if the station is, I mean, what the station should do if the channel is busy, and what should a station do if the channel is idle. So for both of this, the answer is like the first method, the one persistent method. The second method is the non-persistence method, and the last method is the p-persistence method. Figure, you can see in the figure here, as shown in the figure diagram, where we are telling the behavior of three persistence methods when a station finds a channel busy. In one persistence method, which is a very simple and straightforward, what happens is here after a station finds the line idle, it sends its frame immediately. This method has the highest chance of collision because two or more stations may find the line idle and send their frames immediately. In non-persistence method, a station that has frame to send sends the line if the line is idle and then sends immediately. If the line is not idle, it waits for a random amount of time and then senses the line again. So it keeps on sensing at every interval of time whether it is free or it is not, like that. The non-persistence approach reduces the chance of collision because it is unlikely that two or more stations will wait the same amount of time. So in P persistence method, what happens if here it is used only when if the channel has time slots with a slot duration equal to or greater than the maximum propagation time. If P persistence approach combines the advantages of the other two strategies, it reduces the chances of collision and improves efficiency in this method. So let's move on with the another method or another improved method with this carrier sense multiple access with respect to collision detection. What happens if the station already detects that collision is going to happen? The CSMA method does not specify the procedure following a collision. It what happens? It augments the algorithm to handle the collision. So looking onto the algorithm, here we have the algorithm where we have the start, which where the station has frame to send. Okay, so the number of attempts, that is we initialize it with 0, then apply one of the persistence method, either one persistence, non-persistence or P persistence method, any of them we according to that particular channel medium will acquire any of them. Then it will make the channel eligible for the transmission. Then it sends transmission done or collision detected. If there is a collision, it is sensing, then what it does is it will just go with collision detected, and if it is no, then the successful transmission can happen. If there is a like collision it is detecting, then what happens, it will transmit and receive again. So then if suppose collision detected, then what happens, it jams the signal for a while because it doesn't want that particular signal that particular station to send its data and then gets destroyed. Okay, so what it does, it will jam the signal for a time and it will increase the number of attempts. What number of attempts? That is k is equal to k plus 1 and so on, it will increase. Here also will give the maximum k value till 15, and if the attempts reaches to 15, then still the it is not getting the acknowledgement back, then we abort the process. Otherwise, once again it also chooses the random r number to calculate the back of time, like in the earlier version. Then we have CSMA bar CA. That is here in CSMA bar CD, we are just detecting whether the collision may happen or not, and we are trying to avoid it. Whereas here, we are totally trying to remove that only. So how we are doing it? The basic idea behind this CSMA bar CD is in that a station needs to be able to receive while transmitting to detect a collision. When there is no collision, the station receives one signal, its own signal. So in this, what happens in CSMA bar CD, here we should avoid the collision on wireless networks because they cannot be detected. Carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance. So that is what the full form of CSMA bar CA was invented for this network. Which network? Especially for the wireless networks. So collisions, how they are avoided here? Through the use of CSMA bar CA's three strategies. What are they? The first one is the interframe space, that is IFS what we call. The second one is the contention window. The third one is the acknowledgements. You can see here we are performing IFS, that is even though we found the particular channel idle, but still we are giving some time. We are not immediately sending the data onto the channel, but we are waiting for certain time so that other channels or other stations are not transmitting at that time. So after continuously sensing it, if we are finding it idle, then still some more time we are giving. Then we are providing with the contention window where the size will be given using the binary exponential. Then we send the frame, and meanwhile we just go with the procedures like timeout, and if the timeout happens, then resend of that particular frame and getting the acknowledgement back, etc., etc. So we can see in this flow chart again, so where we have a start, and then number of attempts, we initialize it with k is equal to 0. If the channel is idle, then wait for the IFS time, that is some time we're waiting still to see whether the channel will be still idle, or whether some other station is trying to access that particular channel link. After that, we once again check if it is still idle. If yes, then we choose a random number r between 0 to 2 to the power of k minus 1. Otherwise, if in that period of time the channel has been taken by another station, then we go back to once again sensing the channel. You can see in the diagrammatic representation. Otherwise, we move on with the normal method where we are waiting for the odd slots and we are sending the frame. If there is timeout happens somewhere, within that timeout time, if we are getting the acknowledgement back from the receiver, then it is a successful transmission. Otherwise, we are moving on to the number of attempts increase. Here, after reaching the maximum number of attempts, either we are abort the process. If not, directly we go to the sensing of the particular channel. So in this case, rather than on the before cases like CSMA bar, CSMA bar CD and all, so in CSMA bar CA, it is much better to get that collision avoidance. Next, so this is all about the random access, where these methods, all the stations have been randomly sending their data whenever they want, whenever they had the data, without thinking of other stations, without asking of another stations, without dealing with other stations. They just send the channel, they just shared the channel whenever they wanted. In coming to the controlled access, in controlled access, what happens, all the stations consult one another to find which station has the right to send. So here what happens, a station cannot send unless it has been authorized by other stations. We discuss here three popular controlled access methods. We start with the reservation first. In the reservation, what happens? A station needs to make a reservation before sending data, where time is divided into intervals. As we know, reservation of a train, reservation of a bus, what do? We reserve our tickets, we reserve our seats earlier only. Like that, here also we are reserving our place for transmission. That is, the time is divided into intervals, where each interval has a reservation frame which precedes the data frame sent in that particular interval. We can see in the diagrammatic representation where we have reservation frames as like for data station 1, in first 5 slots none has been taken. In second slots, the one station data station 1 has been occupied. Then station 4, 3 and 1 has occupied in the next slots. Likewise, the reservation can happen. Coming to polling. So what is this polling? Polling works with topologies in which one device is designated as primary stations and the other device as the secondary stations. As we have already discussed the topologies, that is different designs in which we can interconnect the systems, isn't it? So likewise, here we make one particular device as a primary device. All other devices are considered as the secondary devices. Here what happens, all data will be exchanged which could be through the primary device only, even when the ultimate destination is someone secondary device, but still a primary device only controls the link. So it is up to the primary device to determine which device is allowed to use the channel at a given time. What happens, a primary device therefore is always the initiator of a session. How it will initialize? initialize, it will initialize using two important functions. The functions are select function and the poll function. So in select function, what happens, if suppose the primary device has something to send, some data to send, then the as primary device controls the link, it only asks others to get the thing. That is, before sending the data, the primary device creates and transmits select, that is SEL frame, to one field of which includes the address of the intended secondary device. So wherever it is sending, it only will decide. The second function is the poll function. In poll function, what happens, it is used by the primary device to solicit transmission from the secondary device. That is, it only will tell which device should send the data, or which device should transmit or have the control over the channel. When a primary device is ready to receive data, it must ask. Asking is nothing but the polling, where each device in turn will tell whether it can do it or not do it. If there is no acknowledgement from that particular secondary device, then it will allocate that particular work to the next secondary device. So that is how we can have select and poll functions in this polling operation, or polling control access. So since we have a control in one particular device, so that is why it comes under control access. So the third method we have is token passing. So you can see in the diagrammatic representation, I have given the logical ring and the physical topologies in token passing access, where we can have different topologies like physical ring, dual ring, bus ring, star ring, etc. So all these four stations have been designed with different topologies, have been placed with different topologies, where we are passing the token. Like if you go to banks, if you go to like some gas stations and all, like a post office and all, how you get a token, and whenever your token number will come, you will be get served. Likewise here also, every device will have its own token. So whenever it turns comes, the token will be asked. If it is able to proceed with a token verification, then it is having all the right to transmit its data. Otherwise, it will be passed on to the next device, whichever shows the token. In the token passing method, the station in a network are organized in a logical ring, one thing. So what happens, but how the right to access the channel passes from one station to another is the question. In this method, like as I told you, a special packet called a token, which circulates through the ring. The position of the token gives the station the right to access the channel and sense its data. So token management is also very important here, since the token has to be taken care of. Like station must be limited in the time they can have a position of the token. Like one machine cannot take a token for a long time, so that other machines will be idle. So all these things comes under the management of the token. So the token must be monitored to ensure it has not been lost or destroyed. So next we have another method, the last method, that is called as the channelization. So in this channelization, where we have multiple access method, in which the available bandwidth of a link is shared in time, frequency, or through code. That is in the form of FDMA, TDMA, and CDMA. So these three methods, that is for frequency division multiple access, called FDMA. So what happens in FDMA? In FDMA, the available bandwidth is divided into frequency bands. So as we have already seen, like how frequency bands will be there, how they work on that particular channel. So each station is allocated a band to send its data. In other words, each band is reserved for a specific station, and it belongs to that station all the time. So you can see in the diagrammatic representation. See here, if we have a data, then that particular station will be having this particular band. So likewise, so you can see that different colors for different bands. So station 1 blue color, station 2 yellow color, station 3 green color, and station 4 pink color, like that. So they are reserved already. So in FDMA, the available bandwidth of the channel is divided into a number of bands to separate by the guard bands. So coming to TDMA, in time division multiple access, the stations share the bandwidth of the channel in time. Each station is allocated a time slot during which it can send a data, where each station transmits its data is assigned a particular time slot. So you can see in the diagrammatic representation, once again, we have a color bands to differentiate them with different number of time slots. So coming to the last CDMA, multiple access channel, with respect to code, that is code division multiple access, CDMA. It was conceived several decades ago. Recent advances in electronic technology have fully made its implementation possible. How? It differs from FDMA because only one channel occupies the entire bandwidth of the link. It differs from the TDMA because all stations can send data simultaneously. There is no time sharing here. In CDMA, one channel carries all the transmissions simultaneously. See here. So, we can see here with different codes, we have different colors for different stations. As if the analogy behind is, if suppose you just uh, put some people in a room where each people is can be able to talk in different language. That is, one person is talking. So if that is the case, then the data from data 1 are D1, the data from data station 2 are D2, and so on. The code assigned to the first station is C1, to the second is C2, and so on. So if we multiply each code by another, we get 0. If we multiply each code by itself, we get 4. That is number of stations. So that's the idea behind this. So which almost covers your module 4. So if you have any questions regarding this, you can ping me up. Also, if you like this video, please share it, like it, and subscribe it. Thank you.